Okay, hi everyone. I'm so happy to have you here. And today we will talk about interior design trends in crisis times. So about crisis times, I know a lot because actually it was quite a crisis time to get here. Because my flight from Berlin was cancelled. I took a bus for 20 hours yesterday. I've got fever, food infection, and I lost my voice this morning. Yeah, so this topic is quite interesting. So today we will talk about what is trend and why we need them, about crisis times and how they can influence design. We will talk about different crises, and we will also touch a topic of design during wartime, because I'm from Ukraine, and a few months ago, me and my mom, we evacuated from the war zone, and I have something to speak about that. Also, we will try to predict the future after that, and after, if you have any questions, you will be free to ask them. So first, I want to tell you who am I. So for 10 years, I'm working as an interior designer in different companies. In 2019, I opened my interior design studio, 725 Design. Thank you. Also, we did a lot of projects abroad, and usually they were between Ukraine, USA, Italy, England, and other countries. Also, I've become this year the youngest accredited designer by a British Interior Design Society. Also, I like to speak about design, to write about it, and I was published more than 60 times now in different magazines. And yeah, and usually it's like about trends. And I like to teach interior design in schools. And now, since April, I live in London, and I design cruise ships for Arctic expeditions. Yeah, so let's start from the topic, what is trend and why we need them. So raise your hand if you know why do we need trends. And also I want to ask you which kind of design or creative nature you are. So I just want to know you more. So who from you are interior designer, for example? Okay. Studying, okay. Who's a product designer? Yay. A graphic designer? Okay. Nice. Cool. So do you know why designers, architects, they need to know trends? Why? Yeah, actually, trends are literally everywhere. And for example, when you just wake up in the morning and you go out with your walk to the office, you just, first thing which you meet, it will be like some kind of advertising on the street. And it will be made by trends in graphic design. After you decide to go to the coffee shop and take your favorite coffee, you enter a nice coffee shop. And nice coffee shop now, for our era, is what? It's like a loft place, which we can see that people didn't try too much about interior design. Usually it had like a bricks and some concrete, and you're like, wow, this is place that's not trying to be someone else. And you like this place because it's so simple, and it makes, of course, filter coffee, another trend. After you take your filter coffee and marble cake, for example, and you go to your nice office and you make nice work, because our time is about having pleasure about what we do every day. So trends in advertising, trends in graphic design, trends in even menu in the restaurant, trends even in your plate. So we need to know trends because trends, they surrounding us every day, and to catch them, to understand them, and to realize that this is a trend is so important, especially for designers who create something depend on these trends. So to say like super dry trend is a direction in the area development or situation that sets the tone of this area. So also trends are very dynamic, and we need to follow them. So knowing the trend helps to create relevant product design. And we all know that to create a viral project, it creates a lot of new clients, a lot of new publications, and even if you create something cool and you publish that on the Behance, you can be more reposted, and after you will be asked to be published somewhere. So it's like kind of word of mouth or of internet. Also, a lot of designers, they used to say that trends is a horrible thing, and we need to avoid them. And I must agree at some point, because designer is not about only following the trends, but also to avoid them, because the trends can be outdated, and the trend will be anti-trend, and we need to understand which is relevant right now. And to understand trends, we also understand which is relevant now and which is outdated. And of course, with the trendy portfolio, with the trendy project, you can attract new clients, which is more probably looking for something new, something more cool. And I must say that clients who understand what is trendy now, they are ready to invest in these experiments. And it can help to raise the budget of your project and to attract new clients with the raising next and next and next time new budgets for your project. And after you will make, I don't know, a villa for Obama. So trend is a pretty dynamic phenomenon, and to create trendy interior, you need to carefully follow all their modification and keep your finger on the pulse of the world. And this is so important. So now let's start talk about crisis times and how they influence design. Because in general, trends, what we used to understand about trends, it's like, for example, if we will talk about terrazzo, for many years it was like super cool, and from 70s and 60s in Italy, like all hospitals like this, even in Soviet Union. After terrazzo was changed by some new material, and new colors arrived, and new ways of using that for the furniture, for the new flooring, for the even like kitchens. And trends, they can die. But about crisis times, we will talk about how actually crisis times influence design and what we have now from current time. So do you think which crisis times we have now on our planet, in our lives? Okay, let's start from pandemic. After, we will talk about climate change and war times, how it was and how it's now. So to start with pandemic, I found this beautiful image with a really cool. And I must say that the first trend what was implemented by pandemic times, it's a separation. Here you can see a nice Alessandro Michele, creative director of Gucci brand, and these amazing screens with the wallpaper of Gucci home. So we all had this experience when we were closed in our houses, and the first thing what we realized that big families, children, your partners, we started to seek privacy. And So open plannings day became a disaster, and we just wanted to hide ourselves in some places, and the screens came here, and it became a nice option to have it in our houses to separate places. Also, not talking about only screens, we can see that a lot of things became contactless, and so now we used to, I don't know, flush our toilet with a leg, make like soap in the toilet with some dents, and so a lot of things they became contactless, and you don't need to touch them anymore. It's about separation also, but from like a physical contact with the things. So this is options for the separation screens. And the first one is just a nice fabric, which is like kind of transparent, but it still works. And the second one is like a moving sliding door from wood, which has a nice, actually, a painting on that and a call for interior design. And the third one is the curtain, super classic, super regular, but anyway, it still works. Because unfortunately, a lot of projects you can have with a small space, and you always want to make it bigger. And usually you just like down all the walls to make it bigger, but eventually you still need to make your planning zones, areas, and the curtains is like super easy way to do that. So the second trend, what was implemented by pandemic, it's say no more to open space. Of course, the offices, they closed their work during pandemic, and the world became to the technological boom, like Zoom calls, watching movies by Zoom together, remote control of everything, and a lot of apps, like even to hug your partner from the distance. And trends for workspace, they changed too. Eventually, when we more invited to the office work, the workspaces, they change. And it's even before it was the screens, they used to be, I remember when I was working in office in 2015, we already had these screens, but now it's even more necessary than before. And of course, another thing of this open space trend, that now offices, they cancel important thing to work 5 days in the office per week. And usually in London now, for example, people work like 2-3 times per week in the office, and rest of the week they work from home to make the office more like a free place. So this is examples of companies, furniture companies for the screens, for the table with screens, and this is the concept from one designer about restaurants on the future during pandemic. Do you like this restaurant? Would you go there for the date? Yeah, it's a good for a bad Tinder date. So third trend for pandemic, after pandemic, it was modular furniture, which is so comfortable for this period, because when you stay at home, you want to change everything. You just stuck in 4 walls, and your interior looks a disaster for you. So modular furniture works here good, because eventually you can just change everything. And so this is some examples of modular furniture. For example, this is a bar, like a restaurant, which can make like this huge table for Turkish wedding, or like a lot of more different tables for just sitting with the small companies. Also, this super trendy sofas right now, Togo by Lina Rosette, and Rocher Beaubois, which is like super classic by Jean-Paul Gaultier, this sofa. And modular furniture, it was a long time already on top, but now it's also necessary for the current situation. So now let's talk about climate change design trends. So first trend which we can say about climate change is, of course, sustainability. Now we can see sustainability everywhere, and it's so hard to find something without sustainable materials or things. And so sustainability, it continues to help keep the planet in its most comfortable state. Also, a good part of that consumers want to live in smart homes, drive electric cars like Tesla, and wear sustainable clothes. And I'm so happy that now we have more conscious and environmentally aware society, which helps designers to be more sustainable aware and to attract clients who also care about our planet. So sustainability, it can be with this, for example, three actually examples. It can be in energy efficiency, for example, warming for the sake of saving on heating, like you can use like huge curtains, or you can use a rag instead of warming floors. Also, it can be the uses of environmentally friendly materials and construction work and furniture and materials that don't harm animals or the planet. So now it's a new trend. It calls vegan interior designers, and they don't use leather, of course, and they don't use also wood, which is don't have a right marker. Usually they prefer to use bamboo because it's regenerate faster and like it's more environmentally right. And also they don't use wool and silk because they, like ships, when they shaved, they feel bad. And other part is a waste of minimization of waste, and it allows you to give a second life to the old things. Second trend about climate change is the vintage and restoration. So, as you know, flea markets became more trendy now, and especially after pandemic, when the all logistic between showrooms and companies of furniture, it was delayed because everyone was sitting at home. And actually, it's also a good complement for the budget, because usually flea market things, they're more cheap and less expensive. And of course, when you buy vintage, you save the planet, because you don't feed, for example, Chinese companies to overproduce things with like enormous amount of things. So here in Milan, I like the most in Navili flea market, and I bought a lot of things there, and you can find there like chairs from Fendi. You can buy there some like super brand furniture and decor, and also you can, after that, you can create something like this interior with some nice vintage things and with a contemporary way of using that. The third climate change design trend is the natural material. So, for example, last year in Isola.design Awards, one of the winner was this project. This is a cosmetic made from algae by Eleonora Rombola, and it won the prize Sustainable Design and New Materials. And this is a really hot topic right now, to use unusual things for design, because actually, as I think, we don't need to create something fake. We just need to have, just to look around and see what around us, and we can do something from that. So this is, for example, paper chair from 2010 by Matthias Benson. And I remember when I saw this chair, it was like, wow, this is so graphic, nice shape. This is so parametric. But also that 12 years ago, people already were talking about recyclable materials for the furniture. So this is just pressed paper. And also he did a few versions of this chair by aluminum and some different metals. This is, for example, sneakers made from plastic, and big sportswear companies, they also care about environment because, for example, in several years in our ocean will be more plastic than fish. And 90% of seabirds have consumed some form of plastic waste. And Adidas, Nike, Puma, they are fighting with this plastic environment by making them a lot of sportswear from this. And this is a cool material. It was made from mushroom mycelium, and this is collaboration with a London-based startup and designer near Mary. And so he developed a new method of mixing the vegetative part of the fungus in mushrooms called mycelium, and he made it with the metal. And this material, it also can be used for the buildings, for some manufacturing. And also you can make from these materials like stone, wood, or steel. Now we're starting post-war design trends. My lost voice doesn't help. I'm always thirsty. So I want to talk about time after Second World War, when most of the cities, it was totally destroyed. Like Warsaw, it was destroyed for 85% whole city, and they rebuilt the city from Italian painter, which made art of old Warsaw in 19th century. So people in Warsaw, when they were rebuilding the city, they just looked in the painting and built. So after Second World War, the war ended, leaving a new worldwide generation of veterans with young families struggling to rebuild their lives. Also, they need to rebuild whole cities, and well-designed, high-quality, inexpensive furniture made from new materials like fiberglass and plastic arrived because this period it created a lot of new materials and new needs. So even if in architecture it was pretty sad and black and white, interiors they were on top of color, and people used a lot of different materials here. The second trend of post-war time, it was mass production. So in general, for these inexpensive new houses, people needed to have inexpensive new items. So arrived a lot of radio, a lot of TV, and new materials and technologies, many of which had been developed during wartime, helped to free design from tradition, allowing an increasingly abstract and sculptural aesthetic. And of course, the low price was the topic, and they need to make a mass production to make it cheap, fast, and quickly delivered to the houses. So this is how it looked in general. They didn't try too hard, but design was actually amazing because they're all ergonomic shapes and ideas. It was cool. In the stress situation. But from the other side, other designers, they were sick of this black and white world, and they needed to create something different. This is how in the post-war time arrived, for example, the chair by Gaetano Pesce and, for example, this screen by Fornasetti in 50s. So they were kind of changing the trends and making life more colorful after war. The third post-war trend is the baby boom. As you know, the whole Europe, it was destroyed. By that time, America, it has a lot of money for new houses. And also they were invited Italian designers to rebuild and to improve American houses because their car industry and like building of new machines, it was more growing because Japan and Germany it was destroyed, and America it was like the most golden and glamorous area for them. And also, by the way, in 1957, it was the first commercial jet travel from America and to America, and for the first time it was more people than boats. This is an example. I like this pink kitchen. Do you like this? Would you live in these colors? And now we will talk about design during wartime. Of course, a lot changed after previous post-war era and now because we're still having it. But it's so interesting to look how design might change, especially from Ukrainian point of view. And I would like to show you some project by Ukrainian designers which raise in Ukrainian culture right now. And for example, this makes by architectural company in Ukraine, Balbec Bureau, and this is the way of protection our monuments in the cities. So before it was actually ugly protection with some bags with sand, and now they implemented this kind of structure to save our monuments in the cities. So first thing during the war, what we realized is interior thinking. So sitting in a bomb shelter is not inspiring, but also it can be because now you totally understand what's wrong with your apartment. And for example, the rule for the air alert is that you need to be behind 2 walls from the window. If the bomb arrives, it will have other pressure on these walls. So. Also, no glass in interior, so panoramic windows and mirrors, it became not that needy when you just tape it with the tab. And open plannings, it was not good too. And also mobility and minimalism, which you can pack everything and change when you want. So this is the project of bunker concept by Sergei Makhno Architects in 2020. I think it was more dedicated for pandemic or something, but you can see how it can work here. So here you can see the nice touch of nature and nice interior, which is like, for me, it's a bit cold because you more want to feel some cozy vibe, but anyway, it's beautiful. So here is the kitchen and the room with plants where you can grow vegetables and have some touch with nature and raise something real. And I like this picture because it's kind of a way to create the outdoor space under the ground because this is ceiling made for the fake heaven, which created by special LED lighting. And this is the picture from exterior. So the second world trend is temporary houses, what we feel now in Ukrainian design. So over 12 million Ukrainians have become refugees and left their houses. And unfortunately, no one can predict the time of war, and family housing isn't the best option for Ukrainian families. And you never know, rebuilding of the cities, how many years can it take? This is the project by Baalbek Bureau. They're like super active right now with their projects. It's so amazing because they inspire a lot of designers from Ukraine now. So they created like a small city which can be transferred anywhere after they won't need these houses anymore. But they have a lot of examples how to locate refugees here, and also some public spaces there for different families. This is images. And the third trend now, which we can see in Ukraine, is a reborn of the culture. So now, I can't say it became like trendy, but we can say that a lot of people started to speak Ukrainian language because Ukraine, like in general, after Soviet Union, it was cut to people who speak Ukrainian and people who speak Russian. And now many Ukrainians became to Ukrainian language speakers. And also we can see the rise of graphic design, fashion, music, and architecture, and Ukrainian style in interior. So as you probably know, the war in general in Ukraine is about 8 years already, and it started from a revolution of dignity in Kiev. And this studio, this furniture company, Milan Design by Design, it was created by this revolution of dignity. And the main idea of that, it was to reborn Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian ethnicity, and all materials like soil, plaster, and everything like this in this aesthetic. I like this brand so much. So this is how it looks. So in general, now we are trying to digging up the remains of Ukrainian ethnic culture, what the Soviet Union tried to bury. And this is so good transformation for our culture. Now let's talk what can be next and what we can predict. And of course we can, but we have some facts from that. And I hope it's going to be a good future for us. So as we know now, Foster and Partners, one of the biggest company in the world, architectural company, they agreed to rebuild Kharkiv, which is the second largest city in Ukraine. And they will start from master plan, and I think after that, the Kharkiv Ukrainian city, it became more European, more contemporary, and it will be kind of city of the future. Because actually we have a lot of universities there, and the city is filled by young, talented people. So this is the project of Foster and Partners. They created, for example, this Apple store in Milan, and they have super nice architecture around the world and super modern. The second trend, what can be found after the war, is earth scrapers. So now the most closest project of earth scraper, it's like a skyscraper but down to the earth. It was in Chicago I forgot the name of the building, but there was like a 7 floors down, and they canceled the project and they didn't make it real. But actually, depends on the soil and ground, you can build that. And to know that in Ukraine we have the deepest underground station in the Europe, I think with our soil we can do that. And also to say that this is possible, we can make an example of Turkish cities, which is mostly underground. And also they are connecting between themselves underground with the tunnels. So this is how they look. To be honest, I don't think it's like so welcoming, and I hope Ukraine not gonna live like this. But this is so interesting that actually we have underground cities in this planet, and it's like usually we met this like in the sci-fi movies, but now could be a reality, not like this, but better. And the third predicted trends is a mixing experience. So as 12 million people left Ukraine now, most of them, they even never travel because it's like parents, it's like old people, and young people who live not like, for example, in Kiev or in the big cities, they evacuated, and now they can see more world and more design and more how to implement your processes. So I think that when they will come back home, when it will be a safe place, they will just absorb new experience from abroad, and they can bring this European way of thinking to Ukraine and make a lot of processes better. So it was my presentation, and now it's time for questions, if you have some. And I just want to say that I think that every crisis time, it's a huge push for the new things, new trends, new technologies, new industrialization, and every crisis has a better future. So probably world right now, it needed war in Ukraine to make things better, because now we see a lot of things which is weak and doesn't work. And I hope soon we will have a better place to live with all this pandemic, climate change, and war, and we can win everything of this. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have questions? I like probably eclectic, which is like mixing everything, because I don't think that style now is necessary in the interior, because now we have a lot of trends it's about this vintage, because we started to more respect, for example, our grandmother's rug and vase, and we want to keep it. And also people now, they're more free to travel and to keep everything from these travels to their homes. And it's so hard to make like a minimalist interior with all this, like for example, vase from Africa and wooden hat from Kilimanjaro. Yeah, so usually I just in my work I like to mix everything, so it's like, yeah. Other question?
Oh, we just teach senior class in interior design with so much going on.
I mean, I wanted so much because I feel better when I do that, and it's a good way to distract myself. But it's hard. It's hard. Yeah, but I hope it will help someone to broad the views in some topics. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for the lecture, and your example is very inspiring because you are so young and you already have a studio, like for me, I think same age. And I wanted to ask, it's like my personal, maybe you can name like the most important steps in like starting your studio, which you think for you were crucial.
Probably the most important thing is just to start, just to have your goal and go there, because I'm not that person who like study a lot, because when I was studying in university on the second year of my class, I was already working for Las Vegas studio, and I remember I was sitting in like horrible conditions in the dormitory room. It's like a lot of cockroaches around, and I'm sitting with this shitty laptop and trying to render something for Villa in California, and I was like, wow, this is life I will never live. And because I live, I have this metal on my window and dark place, and it's like someone screaming somewhere. Yeah, and I just had a goal to have it, and I remember in 2012 I decided that I'm gonna have my studio, because I always wanted to push my ideas to the client. Yeah, so eventually in 2012 I started to learn HTML code, how to make a website, because there wasn't like a ready Mac yet, and no construction for the website. It was only like HTML, and I was like /body/ I don't understand, and in the morning I need to go to study in university and work, and it was hard, so I left this idea and I went to work for studio. But from each studio where I worked, I took some experience how they manage to work. But I must say that for opening your own studio, you should have like different people who makes things that you don't like to do. And for example, I hate make drawings, and first architect which I hired, it was making he was making only drawings, and I was like, yay, okay, now I feel happier. What's next? I'd like actually to make 3D. I need 3D visualizer, and I just was like, what do I want to do? I just want to show off with the clients, to drink coffee and enjoy my life. Okay, we can do that. We need more bigger team. So yeah, probably it's you should know where you're going with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if no one has any questions, I want to say follow me on Instagram, because there I share everything actually, but mostly my job, interior design and trends in general, because this is what I see every day. So follow me. Also, I have a Patreon where I'm making my lecture about just regular, not crisis time trends. And yesterday it was just a fifth part, this one, a fifth part from 5 parts of 2 hours lecture about design trends for 22-23. And you are welcome to contact me if you need this presentation. Also, text me. I will be happy to send it to you. That's all. Thank you for coming. Have a good Salone del Mobile.